tribe of many, many colors. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Today I was guided to just kind of come on and see what happens, see what we could get into. I've been taking notes and messages from my guides this whole time. I kind of jot them in this little book I have, and I'm kind of guided to just dig into this a little bit, maybe pick something from the book and just see what we end up talking about. I don't know, I'm just following my guidance on this one. So let's see what we get. When I get the messages from my guides, I jot it down in this book, pieces of paper, on my computer, wherever I can scribble it right then and there. But I write it kind of shorthand, and then what I do is I expand on the idea a little later in my videos and stuff like that. So this is just holds very short messages, and I'm just gonna pick one and expand on it. So here goes. It says, we are all life scientists. Okay, let me see what I get with that now. Every single one of us has the ability to be a scientist to ourselves. So as society is kind of structured right now, we kind of have the scientists doing their job, astrologers doing their job, mathematicians doing their job, and they all are kind of these very separate structures that kind of operate for the most part independently of each other, and they don't really merge and communicate their information. A scientist is, to me, anybody that has the ability to observe and interact with anything they're trying to learn about, and finding ways to understand it. And one of the big parts of being a scientist to me is being able to have perspective, because to be a good scientist, you have to really have an open mind to allow for information to come in on the thing that you're observing. And as we go through our lives, it's kind of our responsibility to don that robe, so to speak, and become scientists in and amongst ourselves. So you are observing your thoughts, you're observing your actions, you're observing your reactions, you're observing how you interact with certain people, certain places. You're not overthinking, but you are observing. And when you do that, you're able to kind of make corrections within yourself if necessary, so that your life path flows a lot easier than it already is. Because for a lot of us, what brings us into the need to observe and meditate is that we're experiencing something within our lives that's almost like a roadblock. When we hit that roadblock, or we feel like energy is not flowing, we tend to get into observer mode. Now, we're supposed to be in that state at all times, but as it is right now, we kind of have to get triggered or prompted to enter into that space. So being a scientist to yourself is observing, interacting, adjusting, experimenting with yourself, with your diet, with your exercise, with your ability to feel your energy, with your note-taking of your dreams and your goals, and staying positive. You're basically working with energy, not just the physical things around you. A spiritual scientist, you're kind of working with all the elements. So you're working with the ethers, you're working with the physical, you're working with the spiritual, you're working with the dream state, you're working with multiple realms all at once, and you are observing, interacting, being a part of Because as you observe something, it observes you. As you interact with something, it interacts with you. There's no separation of that. So your ability to multitask and observe and interact with all these things at once within yourself lends to a greater understanding of who you are. And ultimately, you can figure out who you are by observing you, but it goes a longer way to observe excuse me, you and how you interact with things outside of you. It's just that kind of added detail that can really expand on you as a person, spiritual being. So as all of us go through these phases of evolving, growing, awakening, we inevitably become spiritual scientists anyway. It's all a part of the process. You know, that we all were these things before they became separated and compartmentalized, if that makes sense. We were all mathematicians, astrologers, scientists, you know, paleontologists, architects, you name it. All of these things that are seemingly separate fields were incorporated within us at one point, and we knew all these things. And then where we are now is we are getting back to the state where we actually interact with all those parts of us again to become a fully whole, functional, grounded being, back to the blueprint of who we originally were. So becoming a spiritual scientist is just one part of that becoming, and there's many other parts that we're gonna eventually incorporate. So I hope that makes sense. All right, let's pick one more. Let's see how that goes. All right, so this passage that I picked says, "The world around me is beautiful when I come from the perspective of true compassion." I like that one. The world around me is beautiful when I come from the perspective of true compassion. Wow. I like that. Because I think it allows us to delve a little deeper into what compassion really is. And oftentimes we've been conditioned to imagine compassion being something we have to give outside of us. We're always encouraged to have compassion for another being, for animals, for the environment, for nature. And we're not often encouraged to grow that energy from within first. We're not often taught how to be compassionate to ourselves. And to me, that is true compassion. Because I can never externalize something to you that I am incapable of housing within my energetic field. So I cannot give love to you, joy to you, compassion to you, intimacy to you if I don't know what that is within me. I'll be giving a kind of reflection of that or a shadow of that, not really knowing what it truly is. So true compassion is the ability to observe yourself, your actions, your reactions, and leave it at that. You're simply observing instead of judging. Why did I say that? Why did I feel this way? I don't want to feel this way, so now I'm going to enter into a bunch of spiritual or meditative rituals to try to rid myself of this feeling. And that ultimately just ends up creating more conflict within us, because what we're truly supposed to do with uncomfortable or what we perceive as low vibrational things or dark triggering thoughts is we're supposed to observe them. And in observing them, they come in, they do what they have to do, teach us. They do their little dance, teach us something, and then we're supposed to let them kind of flow out and go where they need to go. But what we kind of do is when they come in, we hold on to it because we want to analyze every single perspective about this thing. And, all the while it's trying to move on and cycle through our field. But we hold on often by judgment, fear, anger, and it creates a bit of conflict within us. So if as these things come in, thoughts, actions, reactions, and we're noticing them throughout the day, to simply observe it, to just look at it and say, okay, I see what this is. This is a part of me I'm not happy with. It doesn't make me feel good about myself that these are the thoughts I'm having, or these are the things I'm remembering, or these are the things I'm triggered by. That's okay. You observe that. Just observe that it makes you feel that way, and then let it go. It has its own course that is running here. There's kind of these things that continually cycle through us as thought forms, right? And if you have been observing yourself for a while, they just come back in to just kind of ping at the heart space in that moment to see, okay, where are you? And that's a very good thing, because it really gives you a marker for you to see where you are energetically. So sometimes when thoughts, behaviors, emotions cycle in through to the heart space and trigger you, it doesn't mean you're behind. It doesn't mean you're falling backwards. It's always a way for you to observe how far you've come. And don't judge it. Don't judge where you are, because eventually what happens over time, and this is where time becomes your friend, right? Eventually what happens over time is, as these things start to cycle back through you, these thoughts, vision, memories, whatever your triggers are here, when they start cycling around, eventually they linger less and less and less, right? So they come in, sometimes they get stuck because we overanalyze, we overobserve, we overthink, we judge, and they kind of get stuck here. And what eventually happens over time, as all we do is observe, it just keeps cycling a little faster, a little faster, a little faster. What that means is, as something comes in to trigger you, you feel triggered, but it doesn't last that long. It just moves on. So it doesn't mean you're going to stop having these thoughts, feelings, emotions. It just means as they come in and cycle through your heart space, they don't linger to create discomfort for you. So long as you maintain observer mode and you just are aware that it's there, and you're aware that it's generating a feeling, it teaches you where you are. You get to know a little bit more about yourself. You let it go. Then what happens is, right, from my little expression here, as it cycles and it feels like it's very close to you, all the memories feel fresh and new, what happens is it starts to kind of just fade out. It's still cycling, but it fades out. It's not as sharp a trigger, it's not as lingering, and it almost kind of just fades and spirals away from you, because your energetic field has given off the vibration that says stability, grounding, love, compassion, peace resides here, and therefore anything that is a disturbance to that eventually gets pushed out. So true compassion has a way of helping you to evolve, helping you to resolve triggers, helping you to understand yourself more deeply, and it helps you to be able to give that truly to someone else, because you now know what it took to have compassion for yourself. And once you know the journey of self-compassion, then you understand that journey for another being, and you don't judge their process so harshly, because you know within yourself it took a lot to get where you are. And it wasn't just you. We're all doing that, and it's hard work for all of us. So as we see each other going through our phases and our struggles, let's remember to have compassion for ourselves, for another being, because we know what it took to get there. We know what it takes to be here. This is not an easy journey. So a little bit of compassion between all of us makes this thing a lot more tolerable. It makes it that much more easier. If my smile helps you, if your smile helps me, if my encouraging words help you and your encouraging words help me, there's a weight lifted from us, because individually we're not all bearing the baggage of these kind of lower vibrations that we tend to want to carry around, because we lack compassion for ourselves and we lack compassion for each other. So true compassion to me, it's beautiful. It starts within, it grows within. The fruits of that expand out to others, and if we all individually take the time to generate that compassion within us, the entire collective benefits from that. We all have that energy of strength and forward momentum to pull from. So, hope this made sense. I was guided to do this. Thank you for being here. I wish for you love, peace, blessings always. Thank you. Bye.
Come on!